Now, very quickly, I'd like to just introduce the program for the next 3 days. The most updated agenda is actually with you in your conference proceedings. We've also got one posted out on the poster. If you've got any queries at all, you can approach any one of us. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our Program Advisory Board, our speakers who have put these presentations together, and our kind sponsors without whom this event would not have been possible. Just a few housekeeping announcements. As a gesture of courtesy to the presenters, please keep your mobiles and beeping devices on silent. Please also help to complete your evaluation forms that you'll find in your conference proceedings. Please note that the rooms here are not locked at any time, so if you have belongings with you, valuable belongings with you, please take them with you at all times. All the presentations that you're about to witness in the next 3 days will be uploaded in your contact system. We've already sent you the password and login details, so you can access them after the event. All your coffee breaks and lunches will be served at the main exhibition area. Now, without further ado, let me just introduce our chairperson for this session. It's not anyone else, not anyone new. It's Mr. Arun Sen, who is our CEO for Lanco Power International. You've heard from Arun this morning at the opening plenary, and Arun has very kindly agreed to chair for the rest of today. So, without further ado, I'd like you to put your hands together for Mr. Arun Sen, please.
The rest of the day, I agree to the morning. Well, thank you for that kind of introduction. We've got this late morning session, and we'll have 3 sessions for you. First, a presentation by Magnus Melin from Lloyd's Register, then we'll have a CEO forum discussing business growth, which unfortunately will include myself. And we'll have another excellent panel chaired by Mr. Swaminathan discussing challenges for the growth of the power sector focused on supply chain reliability. And for those of you all who've not been here for the first session, I think you missed a fairly lively discussion in the opening plenary. You will now hear from Magnus Melin, who will be talking about mitigating business risk, strategies and models that assure asset performance and reliability. Magnus, seated here, is the thermal power leader of the Lloyd's Register Group. He's focused on a fairly broad range of new and exciting stuff. Fossil power generation, including carbon capture and storage, a topic that is going to be increasingly important in the developed world and possibly soon in the developing world. Magnus has experience in international marine and energy businesses, and he was also he founded the Swedish branch of Lloyd's Register OBS, the consultancy company within Lloyd's. Please join me in welcoming Magnus.
Thank you very much for that very kind introduction. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for coming here today to listen to my presentation about asset performance. As mentioned, my name is Magnus Melin, and I'm responsible for Lloyd's Register's global operation in the thermal power sector, including carbon capture and storage. I should mention, take the opportunity, talking about CCS, that earlier in the discussion today, there were a number of countries mentioned. What was not mentioned was that actually Canada has a leading role to play in the carbon capture and storage scene. Time is running, so let's get started. Asset performance management is more important and relevant than ever. In a world of increasing demand of energy, we have heard lots of high fuel prices. We also know that there's an increasing focus on reducing emissions, and in general, there is definitely a tougher climate with increased competition. High level, there are many drivers for increased asset performance, and you can see some of them on this slide. As you can see, it includes stakeholder confidence, it's about brand, it's about demonstrating returns while controlling operational risk. Another important is that it links to many aspects of your business. Again, you can see it on the slide. It links things to financial, humans, intangible aspects, information assets, physicals, etc. All of this is obviously in addition to the actual physical assets. You maybe ask yourselves, why do we, Lloyd's Register, get involved in asset performance? Well, the answer is very simple. We get involved because fundamentally high asset performance cannot be achieved without the focus on safety. And safety is at the very core of our mission. Sustained high performance is based on strong integrity, and strong integrity is in turn based on strong safety standards. From a practical point of view, we assist clients to improve their asset performance by providing a different range of services. For example, independent quality assurance of equipment and materials, we do a lot of inspections, we provide technical consultancy, we carry out risk assessments, etc. We also help clients to take a holistic view on asset performance, and that's what I'm here to talk about today. Clearly, as for many other aspects of business and indeed life, there isn't really one magic fix. There is no solution that fits everything and everything. To improve your asset management or asset performance, you need different approaches for different levels. If you start at the bottom, focusing on a particular plant or even an individual asset, let's say a boiler in a power plant, activities to improve the performance are usually linked to the optimization of life cycle activities, such as design, operation. You look at maintenance activities, upgrades, etc. At the next level, the focus may be on an entire site or business unit. Going up to the corporate level, you get into many other aspects that I talked about very briefly in the beginning of the presentation. From our work with thermal power generation companies and also power transmission and distribution companies, we have found that companies can improve their asset performance very significantly by taking a holistic view on asset performance management in relation to a standard, which is not really a standard, called PAS 55. I will tell you more about that in a few seconds. So what is PAS 55 really? Well, PAS stands for Publicly Available Specification. It's not really a standard, it's a specification. In many cases though, these specifications are precursors to standards. And what's important here is that we see that PAS 55 and a developing standard called ISO 55000 is becoming increasingly important for power companies. First and foremost, because we see an increasing interest in authorities to adopt the principles behind PAS 55. And secondly, because of this developing ISO 55000 standard, which will be the first ever ISO standard on asset management, is very much based on the principles of PAS 55. I should mention that ISO 55000 is scheduled to be published around 2013, so it's not too far away. I'll go through this one fairly quickly. What I'm trying to convey here is that even though, strictly speaking, PAS 55 only deals with physical assets, it actually links to other assets in the way that they need to be considered when they have an impact on the physical assets. I mentioned it before, and I would just like to stress that it is really important from our perspective to take these relationships into account. This slide gives you an idea about the uptake of PAS 55 globally. Clearly, the uptake goes far beyond the original country, and we definitely see more and more power companies in the power sector and related sectors taking very, very interest in PAS 55. Some companies have already adopted the principles and been certified to PAS 55. Some are on the path to do that currently, and some are obviously considering to do that now or potentially in the future. performance management and PAS 55. This sort of information you can find in most places. It's readily available from many sources, and I strongly suspect that what you really would like to know about PAS 55 is described by the two questions on the slide. It is about how is it really implemented in practice, and what are really the benefits to my company, right? I'll try to answer these two questions by looking at two case studies. One for a power generation company, and one for a power transmission and distribution company that we work with. So the following slide that I will show you, I've compared with these companies. So I think it's fair to say that they represent the views of companies that have already adopted the principles of PAS 55. They're obviously familiar with the approach, and they have seen some real benefits in their operation. So let's start with the first case study. The first one is for a power generation company called Scottish Power. And for those of you that are not familiar with Scottish Power, they're now part of the Androla Group. They're primarily based in the UK, approximately 8,000 employees, some 5 million customers, and installed capacity of approximately 6 gigawatts. A lot of the generation is traditional thermal power generation, fossil fuels, but they also have, as many companies today, an increasing portfolio of renewable energy. Scottish Power has a long history of focusing on asset performance, and maybe some of you have been attending asset performance conferences, and then you've probably heard a presentation given by Martin Sedgwick at Scottish Power. Scottish Power was the second power company in the world that was certified to PAS 55. I believe China Electric Power was the first one. The work in relation to PAS 55 has been done in stages, where the initial gap analysis also included some training. It followed a sort of a traditional PAS 55 approach from our perspective, where you start with an initial gap analysis, sometimes included with training. So the gap analysis is a process, it comes from the name probably, it's a process where you look at your current asset management approach in relation to the requirements of PAS 55. So PAS 55 is not there to change your asset management approach, but there are some requirements, and the gap analysis is there to identify those gaps. A typical gap analysis, also in this case, usually requires in the order of 5 days on site, and includes participation of a wide range of stakeholders from the organization, including the facilitators. And in this case, we provide those facilitators. The actual accreditation or assessment, final assessment, was done in different steps for different parts of the business. It started with the coal business in December 2008, and approximately half a year later, they continued with the gas and hydro business. As you can see, the necessary investment in time is not very long. It's approximately 5 days on site for each of the two businesses. Same sort of magnitude as for the initial gap analysis. We just recently recertified Scottish Power after a period of 3 years, and again we're talking about a time frame at site of approximately 5 months. Okay, let's have a closer look now at some of the results from this gap analysis. What you can see on the screen is a sort of a radar map from the gap analysis back in 2008. I should say that these results are not directly linked to PAS 55 in the sense that they're a mandatory requirement or an automatic outcome. However, in this case, it's very fair to say that PAS 55 was one of the important drivers to undertake this exercise. So in that sense, it is very closely linked. What you can see tries to convey the results from the gap analysis for some maintenance activities and risks. And for those of you that are not familiar with radar maps, it sort of paints a picture where if you have a completely filled circle, you're doing very well. If you don't, you have a gap. So it gives a rating for those different activities. And I apologize for the small font, but there are different activities. Proof testing, well, all the different activities that you can imagine would be included in maintenance task. I will not go through them. I just wanted to convey this initial result from that initial gap analysis. And obviously, as you can see, a number of gaps were identified. What is very interesting to see is obviously the initial gaps, that's interesting, but it's also interesting and very promising to see improvement over time. So on the left, 2008, is the same radar map as I showed before. On the right, 2012, the updated results for the same maintenance tasks. So over a period of 3 years, or almost 4 in this case, you see some very significant improvement. The circle becomes more and more filled. There are still areas where there is room for improvement, but I think it's very fair to say that there has been significant progress over the course of 3 years. Similar results were obtained for engineering. You can see that the green ones are for engineering, and again I apologize for the very small font size. We can provide you with the details, and those radar maps have been shown in other conferences on Scottish Power, so it's not that we're trying to hide any details, it's just a challenge to fit it all into a few slides. But very similar results were obtained also for engineering, the green radar maps, and for operations in orange color. Looking at a different way of looking at things, some other examples on benefits from focus on improved asset performance. This is looking at a particular plant, the organic coal-fired power plant close to Edinburgh in Scotland. And again, we're looking at the time scale 3-4 years over the time frame from 2008 when they started to be, when they were credited to 2005. So if you look on your left, top left, the availability factor has increased. At the same time, the forced average, the E4 number on the top right, has come down. The cost for external services on your lower left has come down at the same time as the output has been increased on the lower right. There are 2 overall key messages that I try to convey here. First and foremost, focus on asset performance can greatly improve your results. And secondly, as you can probably imagine, we strongly believe that passive time is one of many important aspects of asset performance improvement. Yet some more details. Very similar to the trends shown earlier, but conveys the message in a slightly more detailed way. I will not go through the details. You can see some of the numbers. 22% reduction in operations and maintenance cost, 45% reduction in plant force outage, very significant. And also, I haven't mentioned that before, there's actually also a reduction in the insurance cost, simply because of this improved performance. Okay, that was Scottish Power. Let's move on to the next one. So this is the transmission and distribution company called Fingrid. It's the Finnish electricity transmission and system operator. They operate more than 14,000 kilometers of transmission lines, more than 100 substations, and approximately 10 power plants as backup. What is interesting here, and what I think is very important to mention, because it is very relevant for the follow-on discussion, is that Fingrid have adopted a business model that is based on very significant outsourcing. So Fingrid, they developed the power systems in connection with, in close cooperation with their customers. But when it actually comes to construct and maintain the grid, they outsource that to external subcontractors. They do take care of the actual power generation themselves, But that outsourcing is very key to the business approach of Fingrid. And I'll come back to that. Okay. I think this is interesting because it conveys an image over time that I think you will find in many companies that are considering to do something in relation to Passive 5. It's not a decision that I think you take from one day to another. Talking to the people that we work with at Fingrid, it's been a long journey where they have looked at Passive 5 and other aspects of increased asset performance for many, many years. Really, the main reason for starting that journey was sort of a general scope to find improvements in asset performance. So already in 2006, they started looking at Passive 5. The work was actually put on hold in 2007 for various reasons. And then 2008, they really started looking at Passive 5 again, started to collect information, attend the trainings, seminars, etc. Later on in 2008, we got involved with Fingrid and provided some initial training to their top management and senior managers. That was done over a period of 3 days to get the senior management familiar with what they were facing, the opportunities, the approach, challenges, etc. To collect references, made a number of visits to other companies to compare their own performance, participated in a number of workshops around the world around Passive 5. We then helped them to do a gap analysis in 2009, very similar to the approach of Scottish Power, where you carry out a sort of similar gap analysis. It also included some training.